Hello, it is now recording. This is like, it's gonna be a review, overview, opinion of Batman v Superman. It's just gonna be, yeah, my thoughts on it. I'm gonna do a quick review now in a second. Then I will talk about the movie. It's gonna be spoilerific, so if you don't want any spoilers, do not watch this. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna like have 5 minutes no spoilers and then 5 minutes with spoilers. It's just gonna be for the most part spoilerific. I'm not gonna like be too fussed when I put them in. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled about the film, do not watch this video. Overall, I really like the film. I watched it twice now. I watched it on midnight launch in Sydney World in the UK, and it was actually the double bill: Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. It was good to see Man of Steel again. I saw it not so long ago. Off, actually tried Amazon Prime. The streaming was a bit dodgy at the time. Usually, saying that the only issues I've ever had is with Man of Steel. I tried it a few months ago as well, and or a few months prior to that, and it was a little dodgy. But either way, I had downloaded a copy, so I watched that instead. Watched it again. Batman v Superman. Yeah, like I said, I liked it. I'm a huge Batman and DC fan, but don't get me wrong, it had its faults, and I'm not going to ignore those faults in the movie. It's just that the critics, you can tell they've been sharpening their blade for almost 3 years now since they made the announcement of the Batman v Superman movie at San Diego Comic Con in 2013. They've just they basically just been sharpening their blades. If you look at literally every article running up to this movie, you can tell they had already made up their mind. It was less a movie of Batman v Superman and more of a movie of like, we love Marvel, and let's compare it to the DC films. Then obviously Man of Steel had come and gone. A lot of people didn't like it, and the main reason, or the biggest reason I heard and I read that people didn't like it was all the destruction. And it's like two things. Avengers one had a lot of destruction, probably more in terms of what actually went on. Whether or not you saw it, the destruction was there and the amount of people killed. It's just they didn't zoom out as much. Like in Man of Steel, you saw General Zod and Superman going at each other. You saw the building collapsing. Whereas in Avengers, you really didn't see that, and you saw the fatality in Man of Steel. You really saw all of that stuff. Whereas in Batman v I mean, where I'm gonna close this down. Probably just like probably doesn't look very nice. In Man of Steel, you didn't really. I mean, in Avengers, you didn't see any of that sort of stuff. The other thing is, if you got two godlike forces, because that's essentially what they are, what do you expect? Do you expect them to hit like that and nothing to happen to the environment? If they're really going at each other, they're going to create seismic waves. They're going to destroy the environment around them. It's gonna happen. So I actually love that aspect about it, because the first time I thought that they really did a superhero film with metahumans, with characters that are really powerful, that were actually affecting the environment the way they should be. So that's one of I love Dragon Ball Z, but every like few episodes, or like every like saga or so, or every arc, the characters are getting immensely more powerful. They've said that because they have like a level rating, and they on a regular basis they do say, oh, this character is X amount of times more powerful than this old enemy, and that old enemy was X amount of times more powerful than this old enemy. I'm going off on a tangent, but like I said, this is just going to be a random video, but it's going to be about Batman v Superman, but it's just going to be my thoughts. Yep, that this character is more powerful than this one in Dragon Ball Z. And then I remember in Dragon Ball, I think it was even Piccolo. It was his father. I think that was King Piccolo. I remember he got this little ball of energy on the tip of his finger, and he said, "This is enough to destroy the planet." That's literally what he said. So these characters are getting immensely more powerful than this character, King Piccolo, was at the time. Much more powerful. Even the weakest ones are much more powerful than he was. And as a result, the enemies are more powerful because they're able to hurt each other. So when they're punching each other, all firing blasts, where's all that energy going? And not all the not all the blasts are actually hitting the enemy or the hero. They're hitting the environment. So why is only this literally the same amount of environment getting destroyed? And that was the biggest issue I always had with Dragon Ball Z. Even when I was a kid, I always thought, I want more destruction, I want more realism. That's essentially what I wanted. That's what I love about Man of Steel. That's what I loved about this movie. They nailed the realism aspect, not just from the destruction, from the all the way to the politics as well, because they obviously try to make Superman answer for what had happened in Man of Steel, and I like that. You can't have all this stuff going on without the realism, because that's the thing I don't like about the Marvel films, is that they're not very realistic. They're just too comical. It's like in Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, when they're fighting, Quicksilver keeps using the line. No, Quicksilver and Hawkeye keep using the line. As far as I'm aware, they use it 3 times, possibly more, but I think it's just 3 times. You didn't see that coming. When you got literally the entire world at stake, that's essentially what was at stake. You're not just gonna be doing saying these cheesy lines. You didn't see that coming. It was just I didn't like or don't like that aspect about Marvel films. They're just too comical. And I think if I want to watch a comedy film, I'll watch a Jim Carrey film. I was watching a bit of Ace Ventura yesterday with my dad, and I'll watch that if I want comedy. If I want like a superhero film or something like that, I want it to be serious. Again, that's just my opinion. And with a few comical elements from someone like Alfred, when he's just having these little digs at Batman or Bruce Wayne, which there were plenty of those digs in Batman v Superman. Not over the top, but they were enough. Preferred Alfred over Michael Caine. I liked Michael Caine as Alfred, but this one really felt authentic. Jeremy Irons is a great actor. He will always, for me, be Scar from Lion King. So yeah, where was I at about Batman v Superman? Like I was saying, I really liked the movie. He had his flaws, and the biggest flaw was pacing. The problem I had with Batman v Superman is that each scene was beautifully constructed. If you took just each scene individually and just watched it, amazing. From any special effects that were involved, any set pieces, any dialogue, anything, amazing. But it was the actual linking each individual scene together. It just didn't flow as well as it should. And you can clearly see Zack Snyder really does need to improve his pacing for movies. That's one thing that really does let him down. Let me just make sure I'm recording, because if I'm not, then I will have obviously been talking for 8 minutes without recording. That's what lets him down, is his pacing. He needs to really improve his pacing, because Christopher Nolan movies were great. I think for pacing, the best movie I've ever seen is Return of the King, Lord of the Rings. I remember seeing that movie several times after, and before I know it, the movie is almost finished, but in a good way. Whereas Batman v Superman, it didn't really drag, but it just didn't flow as well. And the pacing wasn't just to do with it dragging. It was, like I say, on one scene, then the next minute it was on another scene in a different location, and there was no build up to some of the scenes. Like when Batman had first put his super duper armor on, you never saw that. Suddenly, on one scene, Clark Kent's mother was getting kidnapped by Lex's goons, and then suddenly they switched to Batman in Wayne Manor with, or what you assumed, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Wayne Manor, which was all broken down, which I'm hoping they explain in Suicide Squad, but just how much destruction could have happened between Man of Steel and Suicide Squad. And Batman v Superman, because Suicide Squad is set at the very least after Man of Steel, based on the comment that Amanda Waller makes in the trailer, which is Batman was a beacon for the crazies. She essentially says that. Superman was a beacon, so clearly Man of Steel has occurred, because before that movie he hadn't revealed himself. So it's a maximum of 2 years has passed between Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, and that assumes that Suicide Squad was set literally after Man of Steel, which is more than possible. But obviously there is the Batman movie, so there's a lot of explanation that could happen there. But like I was saying, he switches to that scene where Batman is just standing in Wayne Manor and he's got his armored suit on. You would expect some really impactful music, him or Alfred or something putting his armor on, and maybe he flicking back and forth between Lex manipulating Superman. That would have been fantastic. And it wasn't just one isolated incident like this. It was all throughout the movie that there wasn't enough build up. The first time Batman like had a fight sequence, there wasn't enough build up into music alone would have been enough, but there should have been a bit more suspense to it. The first time you really see him with the suit is when he just branded that criminal and the cops just looking to see what's happened, and he's there in the corner, and then the cop turns around, shoots, and Batman sort of goes up like a bat, which I loved. Not only that he ran across the walls like a bat, or climbed across the walls like a bat, he actually, well, he was like a ninja, which is essentially what he is. If he's an expert martial artist, he should be able to do all of that sort of stuff, which was fantastic. So that was my biggest issue, was pacing, and all throughout the movie that was an issue. It did have other small problems as well. Lois Lane, Amy Adams was fine, but she was annoying in Man of Steel. Suddenly she was here and suddenly she was there. That was the same in this movie as well. And then she was throwing that kryptonite spear away, and then she had to go back and get it. That was annoying. And what else was annoying about the movie? I love Lex Luthor because I think Kevin Spacey was close in terms of nailing Lex. He had that craziness about him, the way he portrayed it, but he didn't really have that psychotic nature. Whereas this Lex, you could see it from him giving that speech at his event to the ending when he's locked up in prison and he's got, I don't know, some snot coming. I think it was some snot coming out, and he's all really angry to him manipulating Superman to fight Batman, to kidnapping Superman's mother, which obviously resulted in that, him creating Doomsday. That was another thing. In all fairness, while I was watching the movie and after, I haven't been too fussed about it. For the build up for the movie, I wasn't the biggest fan of having Doomsday in it, simply because he's such a major character. I wanted him to. He had several backstory, but I wanted the backstory of him being an experiment on Krypton, and he hates Kryptonians, and he's essentially invincible, and he goes around killing Kryptonians. They sort of did that route. I know they've had this backstory or a similar backstory before in the comics, so it's not totally alien. I'm talking about that. Talking about comics, Batman v Superman was ridiculously, I want to say accurate for comics, but they had a shit ton of references. I've actually got a link here, which is all the Easter eggs, or all the Easter eggs that Screen Rant could find, and all the Easter eggs that I was just seeing throughout the movie. I was like, that's fantastic. They've got a shit ton of Easter eggs from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns animated movie, which was based off the comic. You know, the actual front cover where Batman's got his grapple gun and he's sort of just about to grapple off when he's sort of dodging Doomsday's laser beam in the film. Wonder Woman was also fantastic. Basically, the film, in terms of the pacing, was sort of all over the place, like this opinion review video is. Because obviously this sort of all over the place, I'm going here and here, and that's how it was with the film as well. The other thing, I liked how they introduced the other characters. I would have preferred if they had the other characters in there, because they had Wonder Woman, like I just mentioned, she was good. They briefly showed the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg via some videos and some research that LexCorp and Lex Luthor had done. I liked that aspect of it. I liked the aspect that Luthor had his long gingerish hair, because that's how he has his hair originally in the comics. If I just Google Lex Luthor hair, the particular one I'm looking for. See, he's got luscious orange hair there. He's got some hair, got quite a lot of hair there. Obviously, this is how he was in the movie itself. But there's several different iterations, and he does initially have hair. Obviously, this is Kevin Spacey, and yeah, Jesse Eisenberg was a good Lex Luthor. I still don't think his physique was really right for Lex. He was the son of Lex in this, or the original Lex in this movie iteration, which is fair enough. His psychotic nature, they absolutely nailed that. Talking about characters, Wonder Woman, I wasn't the biggest fan of the cast for Gal Gadot, but I think she did a really good job. I think if she was a bit beefier, her frame doesn't really look like it could support, no, not support, but be any beefier without it looking unnatural. I expected the actress, whoever played her, to be more like Nigella Lawson, which is basically she is a chef. I expected the physique more like this than Gal Gadot. Obviously, these images aren't the best because it doesn't show how slim she is. Well, I'll just show you the Wonder Woman one. As you can see, she is very slim. She's actually beefed up for this movie, relatively speaking, but generally speaking, she is very slim. But she did a really good job, which was good, so I'm happy with that. Ben Affleck as Batman, fantastic. He has the look. If you type on, so Batman, if I go on Batman, actually no, Bruce Wayne. That's what I want to have a look at. Bruce Wayne. No, I want the comic. Kristen Bell. Literally, the first rose is Kristen Bell. As you can see, like these sort of Bruce Waynes, they've got that sort of square chin, sort of big figure. Then if you look at, I was gonna put Batfleck. That should get the. What was that? Better than Batfleck, the new Lego Batman trailer. I've already seen that one. That was actually shown at the movie that I want to see today, aka Batman v Superman. Yeah, if you do, that's not the right one. Have you seen Sad Affleck? That's pretty funny, that is. And obviously it's done really well at the box office, but in all fairness, what you have to consider is the amount of hype that it had. It was inevitably going to get some criticism towards it, and then on top of that, the opening weekend was pretty much guaranteed to do well. So the true test is not the opening weekend, so though that's going to help for the Warner Brothers executive, is how long it keeps this sort of high earnings for, and if it can actually break some more records, or it needs to at the very least break $1 billion globally. If you can get towards the 1.2, 1.3, it'll be nearing like the Avengers $1.4 billion range. And if it does, that'll be fantastic. If it gets above the 1 billion, that's fantastic. But if it gets to the 1.2, 1.3, it will really be more than enough for Warner Brothers executives. At the end of the day, that's all they care about, and it's what makes the world go round, is money, because it's the most powerful commodity on this planet. It'll be more than enough for them to say, that's fine, continue with your plans, Snyder, or continue with the DC plans. We're not going to halt anything, because Suicide Squad is almost done, so that's obviously going to come out. Wonder Woman is too far in development for them to cancel, whereas Justice League, which is coming out I think November next year, Justice League Part 1, yeah, it's coming out November next year. Zack Snyder said that they're due to start shooting on 11th of April, which is in a couple of weeks. So I highly doubt that they're not going to do this movie, or Justice League movie, but depending on how well Batman v Superman does overall at the box office will depend on sort of push they actually have with that. I think what they should do is bring somebody in to rein Zack Snyder back in terms of make sure he has the right direction, because I think he's got the right direction in terms of the actual story he wants to tell. Cause he's a very hardcore comic book fan. I think he knows how to create a movie about characters in terms of what they truly deserve. It's just the actual pacing. That's the biggest thing. It's the pacing just needs to be improved. So they need to bring somebody on board. Christopher Nolan clearly doesn't want to be on board as much. I think an amazing person to have on board, which is essentially already here, is him, Batman, or Ben Affleck, because he's meant to be directing, writing, producing, and starring in the Batman movie. He'll be doing that for, I think, there's a movie coming out at the end of 27. Is it Live in the Dark, is it? There's a movie coming out towards the end of next year, Live by Night. Or Live by Night? Live by Night, yeah. Live by Night. That he is producing it. DiCaprio's producing it as well. He is doing screenplay, he is the director, and he is the main actor as well. So I think if Snyder says, or the Warner Brothers executives say that Affleck will be as influential for the DC decisions as Snyder was. So if Snyder is more of like a story guy combined with either David S. Goyer or whatever writer is doing a particular film, and so basically he's the direction in terms of story they're trying to tell, but Affleck is the actual visionary in terms of the way the film going to be constructed. I think they'll have a winning combination then. So that's my opinion in terms of what they should do going forward. But I thought Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne and Batman was fantastic. I loved him as Batman. He had the whole Batman, the whole Bruce Wayne look. I loved the Batman costume. I loved the fight sequences. I loved the rawness to him. I loved how it was very brutal. I also liked the fact that he killed people. Because at the end of the day, I think, well, this sort of myth that Batman doesn't kill people is sort of stemmed, I think, from the Tim Burton movies, and it's been heavily popularized in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. But there's YouTube videos show how many people he's killed. He's killed loads of people. Like in Batman Begins, how many people did he kill from the League of Shadows? Yeah, they're assassins and they're not obviously nice people, but he's killed people. Because in Batman v Superman, he doesn't go around killing innocent people or even petty criminals. Really, the people that he does kill, they're evil people. They are horrible people. So he's not killing in a horrible way. And the other thing is, if he didn't kill, in my eyes, that would make him less effective. I think you need to cross that line to, provide justice. Because if, policemen and women can kill for the right reasons, and the military can, why can't Batman? Yes, he is a vigilante, but if you ignore that aspect, why should he not? He should do. So that's what is my opinion on that, and I like that he did. I loved his use of gadgets, because in the Nolan trilogy didn't use that many gadgets, whereas in this one you could see him and Alfred constructing gadgets, from the little canister with the kryptonite gas to the kryptonite spear to that tracker that he put on the truck to see where the kryptonite was going, to the grapple gun, to the batarangs, to something that was blocking the guns when he came under the, from beneath the floor. Sorry. So yeah, I just love the overall use of gadgets, and I think this was probably one of the closest movies to comic book movies that was close to, well, comic books and cartoons and any other previous media, which is what I loved about it. Either way, I've got a link open, which is Batman v Superman, every Easter egg and hidden detail. Or I've gone through about the first 18, and I thought I'll go through the rest of them while I'm doing this video. Created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Yeah, at the start it says Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and he also says Superman created by blah blah blah. And when I saw that, I was like, they finally credited Bill Finger, because this is something that's been on people's minds and tongues for a while, that Bill Finger doesn't, he just doesn't get credited. They always say that Bob Kane is the creator of Batman, even though Bill Finger, if you read here, it was Finger who came up with most of the details, supporting characters and general themes of Batman, or all of them. Had Bob Kane followed his own idea, the hero known as Batman would have looked like the man pictured above, without the money, torture path and gadgets. The list goes on and on. Do you really want that instead of the current Batman? Nope. The Mark of Zorro, which is referenced at the start where Martha Wayne gets killed, and Thomas Wayne, that was good. Jimmy Olsen, he was meant to be the character who died in the desert, who was with Lois Lane. Yeah, those rumours that Scoot McNairy. Oh, I really liked his character. I want to say I really liked his character. I'll say, yeah, I liked his character. I think Scoot McNairy portrayed it well. I like him from *Halt and Catch Fire*. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, this guy was apparently in Smallville as well. He's a Smallville veteran. So he was executed. Then you got something called KG Beast, which was that, and his name Anatoly Kenevyov, and apparently that was the real name of the Russian operative known as KGB. So there's no reference. Rigby's mailbox. This was the mailbox that Lois Lane, or the mailbox next to what Lois Lane got her letter out. Apparently it's a stunt coordinator that worked on 300, Sucker Punch, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman. Rocket signs. Take a close look at the shutter. You'll see 300. Yeah, 300. I believe that's the text. And tomorrow is going up. Yeah, a few people moaned about online about how poor the CGI was on certain scenes like this one and a few other ones, but the CGI wasn't poor. What it was, you could blatantly tell that Snyder or whoever made this decision added a certain tone over over that particular part of the footage to distinguish it from everything else, because it wasn't really part of the scenes or the story that was going on. It was sort of a backstory, because it was like somebody was talking over it, saying Superman's this, and it was showing him doing different acts of kindness or saving people or doing whatever, and they just changed the tone over some of that footage. So I thought that was an interesting way of doing things. I didn't like the look of this tone when they showed it in the trailer, because when I first saw it, I remember seeing this and I thought, this is obviously some sort of fan made crap. But then the rest of the trailer came on and it wasn't. But after seeing the movie, it's fine. Action Comics, yeah, the references to Action Comics. Wallace Keith, which is played by McNairy. Must there be a Superman? I really liked that line. When it was Charlie Rose asked Holly Hunter's character, which was Senator Finch, must there be a Superman? And she replied, there is. Regardless of whether there should or shouldn't be, that looks like the Green Lantern. Can't remember what they call the Green Lantern. Not Demon, the Green Lantern parents, whatever they call. I forgot their name. But either way, I just love that line where she said, there is. It doesn't matter what we think. It's like saying, should there be a Batman? Regardless, there is a Batman. Should there, in real life, should there be this? Or shouldn't there be this? It doesn't matter. There is this, whether it's good or bad, and we have to deal with it. We have to live our lives as a result of this. Whether it affects our lives directly, we have to live them as a result. Let's see how long this video is. 30 minutes. But either way, I'm just going to keep going. and just do it at my own pace. I'm not going to end it prematurely. So must there be a Superman? Metallo, sort of, apparently. What was it? When Lexi first giving Senator Finch a tour of his lab, filling her in on kryptonite. Okay. Apparently that wanted to just crash. It says scientist who narrates the effectiveness of the kryptonite fragment, played by Rolf Listad, credited as Emmett Vale, the scientist who turned Corbin into Metallo in the comics. The Dead Robin, which is the suit that we saw in the trailer. So I'm hoping that this is a reference to something in Suicide Squad. People are saying based on, bullet marks here, bullet holes. If you look at the Joker in Suicide Squad, this is the image. I haven't seen this one before. It doesn't look like him. Either way, if you look here, there's like a mark there. There's a mark there. Basically, there's marks everywhere. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there's mark there, exactly, or not exactly, or similar to where there's marks on the suit. So they're saying perhaps this is Robin that turns into the Joker, because that is a comic, that is a story in the comics. Obviously, it could be one of many Robins. So that'll be interesting to see. We might be in the actual Batman movie. Favorite ride of Gadget Head, the Aston Martin, and I read, I watched a video where Zack Snyder was saying this car was actually his. This was his personal car. Just a little extra thing from me. The artwork says it all. Apparently the artwork in the background, it was to art Balance of Terror, showing terribly violent acts perpetrated by characters in black upon characters of white. Considering that the film will later feature the Dark Knight brutally beating the shining beacon of hope that is Superman, the artwork is actually foreshadowing. That's just one interpretation of the work, but almost all reflect the themes within the film itself. Naming a cat from a tree, Batman when he's just sort of having digs about Superman to Clark Kent. I wonder if he knew that Superman was Clark Kent at that moment, because when he says Gotham, no, what does he exactly say? He says that Gotham has had a bad history with freaks dressed like clowns. He actually eyes up Clark Kent. He's not dressed in Superman, so he is like Clark Kent at the time. But he eyes him up like that, almost suggesting like, dude, I know, I don't trust you. So I wonder if he did. But either way, apparently in this comic or in this film, the Superman, in the first Superman movie, Christopher Reeve saves a cat from a tree because it was showing that no act is too small. So that was a nice reference to that. There's also a line where Lawrence Fishburne's character says to Clark Kent, it's not 1938, then he does a speech about it, because Clark Kent wants to write a piece about Batman and the fact that civil liberties are being stamped on, and 1938 isn't a random number because it's the very same year that Superman's first comic, Action Comics #1, hit newsstands. The Sword of Alexander, less a superhero Easter egg and more a explanation for those wondering why a sword in museums should become such a talking point between Diane and Bruce, claiming to be the Sword of Alexander. Both know it's simply a replica, but the sword isn't just important for being worn by one of the greatest conquerors in the world. It's also the blade, as explained by the museum official, that cut the Gordian knot. Since most of our readers are probably not versed in classical history, it's a story in which Alexander decides not to bother trying to solve an unsolvable knot, but simply cuts the knot out a literal shortcut. We won't suggest how much that idea is at work in the rest of the movie, but it's an interesting reference all the same. Apocalypse here on Earth. So this was a nightmare sequence, whether it was just a nightmare sequence, whether it was sort of a foreshadowing or a flash forward sequence, or is a mixture. either way, I did like that sequence a lot because this is the first time we really saw Batman, and it was very interesting to actually the first time you actually see Batman do anything. 'Cause you saw him briefly earlier on in the corner of the room, like I was saying, after he had just marked that criminal, and he sort of scurried away. We didn't really see him properly, so this was the first time you see him. It was interesting that he was in a nightmare sequence, and it wasn't even just like a regular nightmare sequence. It was something set in the future or set on some sort of post-apocalyptic world, or Metropolis or Gotham. And then here you got the Omega sign. I'll just read this so we can get a rough idea what it's about. But the dreams that keep Bruce waking up in a panic show some obvious nods to DC Comics mythology, specifically that of the new gods. To make a long story short, it looks to be Darkseid, the evil ruler of the planet Apocalypse, whose handiwork Bruce is admiring, even if he sees it as a result of Superman instead. The Omega sign is frequently used by the cosmic villain because he has Omega beams, and the soaring fire pits bursting from the earth are a perfect match to those at home on his native Apocalypse. And believe us, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Zack Snyder's potential Justice League teases. That's what I liked. He did put a lot in there, but that's also another problem with the movie, that the fact that it crammed so much in, because they were, let's be frank, they were playing catch up to Marvel. I'm a DC fan, but I won't deny the fact that they were playing catch up, because Marvel have nailed it at the box office, and at the end of the day, that's what counts for them making movies. Period. Parademons. When the first look at the nightmare scene was offered, the winged soldiers terrorizing Batman had comic readers picking their collective jaws up off the floor. They couldn't actually be parademons, the foot soldiers of Darkseid, could they? The final film makes the point absolutely clear, confirming that the strange, beastly enemies Bruce is tormented by are in fact the forces of Apocalypse. Aside from the wings, the unmistakable red goggles on the soldier who finally arrives to knock Batman out cold make the connection obvious. What it means in a larger sense, well, that falls to another character entirely. You have to find us Bruce. When Bruce awakens from his nightmare vision of the future, he has only a few seconds before his world is quite literally torn apart. A rupture in space and time burst into being in the heart of his Batcave, with an armoured man stepping out to greet him. The character in question is none other than Barry Allen, which is played by Ezra Miller, sporting a heavy-duty armor suit as the Flash, not unlike the one seen above. Aside from reassuring Bruce that he was right about him all along, Barry, presumably from the future, informed Bruce that Lois Lane is the key and that he must find us, implying that Bruce went, oh, again? Oh, I was on the one after this, so I was on here. Informed that Bruce that Lois Lane is the key and that he must find us, implying that Bruce Wayne has the ability to change or ensure the future so long as he seeks out the metahumans it should be unites them for a single cause. The suggestion for theorists looking to connect the dots is that perhaps Bruce's vision of the future isn't just a nightmare, but an actual vision being delivered to him as he sleeps by a future ally. The theory is backed up when Barry disappears back into the wormhole and Bruce once again bursts wide away from his desk. I know what they're going to say, yet the sheets of paper still fluttering to the ground behind him from the rupture in time suggests it was more real than he realised. Yeah, because I remember I went with my dad and my dad's mate to see on midnight lunch, and afterwards they were talking about the dream sequence and the part of the dream sequence which was Batman seeing the Flash, and I was like, but it wasn't a dream sequence, or at least the part with the Flash wasn't. He had some reality to it, because afterwards you still had a piece of paper floating by. It's only like a couple of pieces of paper. It's only enough for you to be able to notice it and sort of make the connection, but it wasn't so much that you'd be like, oh, everyone would be obvious and say, oh, it's clearly not a vision. So yeah, that was good. I like that sort of tea. The Land Farm. So what's this about? When Pa Kent, Kevin Costner, makes his somewhat return, sharing a heart-to-heart conversation with his son, perhaps a memory of Clark's. He recalls a heroic task of his own from his youth, saving his family farm from a flood, earned with temporary glory, but was cut short when he
like his son, realised that no heroic deed is without cost, but slowing the river's flow saved their property, destroyed that of Lang family upriver. That's a reference to Lorna Lang, a girl from Clark's childhood, seen in most versions of his story, including a brief cameo in Man of Steel. Okay, it was this one on the bus. And I think they mentioned it, Lorna Lang saw it too as well. I think when that fat kid's mom is talking about Superman saving them from the bus, Senator Superfan. As United States Senator from Vermont, Patrick Leahy has proven Leahy is currently the most senior senator serving, and at one time was 39 to the presidency. Ooh, that's pretty high up. But all lays dwarfed by his film career with the Cape Crusader. Leahy has been an outspoken Batman fan for decades, having written forwards for multiple collections of comic stories starring the Dark Knight. His affection even earned him cameos as himself in Batman Robin, a Wayne Enterprises, Born Memory, and Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. I have to go back and see that. I think I didn't recognise that face. Might just be one of those things that I think I do. And now Aurora Senator Farrington beside Finch at the hearings on Capitol Hill. Raleigh's Diner. I'm not going to read all of it, I'm just going to skip through it. A minor location in DC Comics universe. Made famous in a story in which Lex Luthor travels hours outside of town to the Greasy Spoon, offers a young waitress a lot of luxury and romance should she leave her life. The man behind in the end, she agrees, but Lex has already abandoned her. It's just a sign of how cruel and callous Lex can be, even if Lex's men later arrive to actually take Martha Kent back to town. Okay, so I clicked on the image. Come on, scroll down automatically. Bat rifle. When Bruce uncovers the fact that the White Portuguese ship bringing in kryptonite illegally, he takes to a crane in the port, rifle in hand. Though the presence of a gun in Batman's hand shocked from views, it's a nod to Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, and fires only attracting me. The image of Batman holding the rifle like the battle between the heroes, and the even lines, the dialogue from the final act are all lifted off the page, making this a true adaptation of the comic, even if the larger plot lines are different. Nicholson Terminal. Once the kryptonite retrieval becomes a full-blown car chase, Lex and men lead the Batmobile on a frantic chase between ships contained in buildings. Pay close attention to the building that Bruce's Batmobile first erupts out of, and you'll notice it's Nicholson Terminal and Port Company. It could be a coincidence, but considering that Jack Nicholson is remembered by many as a great Batman villain ever. It's getting annoying. So basically it's just a homage to him, just not doing us fine. Belgium 1918, when Bruce Wayne finally delivers the encrypted photo to Diana. The photo clearly taken from the set of Wonder Woman origin movie with Gal Gadot's co-star Chris Pine and Ewan Bremner, and side among others a vintage photograph from Diana's experience in 1918 in what looks to be a war-torn village is evidence of metahuman activity on its own, but when combined with the surveillance footage of her in the modern era, the Amazonian's immortality is made clear. What isn't clear is how Lex Luthor came into possession of the photograph to begin with. It's also unclear how Diana came to know that Lex possessed evidence of her Superman physiology. Yep, or how large a role she played in World War One. Those are questions obviously answered only in future films, but the early look at the Wonder Woman solo movie is an unexpected surprise, and in the end it was just one of many. Aquaman. Shorty's end of the stick. Well, that's fine. Yeah, he wasn't much. He just drones and just some underwater drones, underwater ships, and some sort of divers just seeing some sort of glowing eye from a ship. He comes out, he destroys one of the cameras, and he just goes flying off or swimming off. Cyborg, I like this one because they was using the mother boxes for this. It's Vic Stone, aka Cyborg, that takes the spotlight. His dad's just helping him sort stuff out. Oh, this is good. Could be Mortally wounded in either the Superman vs. Zod battle from Man of Steel or the showdown with Doomsday in this film. I doubt it'd be Doomsday because they already had the footage, so unless the footage is from the future, which I doubt it's something as a result, it'll be from the Superman and Zod battle. The former is still possible, but when the files are accessed, Vic is already little more than a torso and head suspended on a star. There's talking about it now on a Star Labs workboard as his father records his findings to the camera. Time passes, Silas resorts to technology and electronic replacements in order to keep his son alive. The damage to Vic is even greater than the comics usually depict, leaving him with a mainly artificial body. Yeah, because in the film it literally just had, I think, like from here upwards, and even then a lot of the upper part of the body was gone or broken, and well, this is getting really annoying, but I'm getting towards the end. So yeah, they destroyed a lot of his body now, which I don't care either way, honestly. Mother Box. Final video clip highlighting Cyborg features Silas noting that a mysterious cube has become operational, resembling a box made up of fluctuating tiles, pulsing and reconfiguring as a strong light shines from within. When this Bix box comes close to Vic, it goes into autopilot, zapping the components around it and triggering the formation of a cybernetic skeleton and limbs. It may seem like unknown technology, simply meant to look futuristic or artificially intelligent, but thinks a nod to Darkseid, but it seems most likely, given the other hints of it, that it's a bona fide mother box hailing straight from the home of the New Gods. Prime technology of the New Gods are the aforementioned mother boxes, a combination of sentient technological being and AI, and a magical guardian angel in Cyborg's most recent origin in DC's New 52. It was one such mother box left behind by an invading parademon that triggered same sort of healing, compiling his body out of alien tech the scientists couldn't hope to understand. That's interesting. Left behind by a parademon. Then in that sequence, that nightmare sequence where Batman is attacking the sort of Superman soldiers, or soldiers that bear the Superman insignia, they're the parademon there. There was a suggestion in here, in this section 13, that he may have been damaged from the Doomsday battle. Maybe it is from the future, that footage. I guess it's not totally far-fetched. The Flash, played by Ezra Miller. Second cameo appearance of the Flash delivers on the Super Series fans of the hero have been done to see. When accessing the rest of Lex's encrypted files, Diana stumbles upon one that seems mundane compared to the others. A young man caught in a convenience store robbery. With a smirk, the man Barry Allen hosts the crime in a heartbeat, sending the cameras into digital destruction as lightning flashes are everywhere around him, and it may not be the clearest look at his powers, but if the solo Flash movie is going to be a true origin, Zack Snyder has at least shown the time-hopping hero Barry will become and how important he can be to the world as a whole. What was that, Lolita? Not so much an Easter egg, but yeah, no pop culture reference of Lex Luthor's that may fly by most viewers. But meeting the Lois Lane atop LexCorp Tower, Jesse Eisenberg rattles off a number of hard-to-catch phrases, but two that are easily made out can be heard when he greets Lois, followed by plain low in the morning, low laid slacks. Lines are taken from Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita, reference made even more incredible by the fact that Alfred himself, actor Jeremy Irons, starred in the 1997 adaptation of the novel opposite Dominic Swain. Okay, the Riddler graffiti. Oh yeah, they got the question marks. Seeing the Bruce Wayne preparing the battlefield for a showdown with Superman are lit only by lighting, which means the graffiti adorning walls can only be seen in bits and pieces. But one clever reference is hard to miss: the question mark, made famous as the calling card of the position of the Riddler. It's impossible to guess if this is meant as an actual hint of what's to come, but even if he was just a Batman fan on the production team, we couldn't pass up making an Easter egg. It's there to reward the fans pouring over each frame. Joe and KR. It isn't just a nod to the Riddler that can be found in the fight scene, but a mention of Batman's famous nemesis. Fans have gotten creative with their findings in the graffiti, but what's certain is that that at two different points in the fight, the writings on the wall features the phrase Joe KR or Joe plus KR, which equals both references to the Joker. Does it? The Joe K something there, probably in another part of it as well. Most likely some sort of reference to him, just an Easter egg. Most likely an Easter egg planted by set painters and production designers as opposed to Zack Snyder, but co-edition all the same. Carla Gugino cameo. Regular Zack Snyder collaborator Carla Gugino from Sucker Punch and Watchmen didn't appear in Man of Steel, but did lend her voice to Kellex, the Kryptonian Robo Butler drone. Okay, fair enough. The down ship, Kandor. Once General Zod's remains are slipped into the waters of Lex's mad science laboratory, the computer is able to confirm the identity of the man, revealing that he hails from Kandor. To comic book fans, particularly those familiar with this silly part of Superman history, the city of Kandor is famous for being shrunk down prior to Krypton's destruction and kept safe in Superman's Fortress of Solitude. It's unlikely that storyline will play out, but it's a cool reference for the fans. Dark Knight Returns again, yeah. This is one I remember noticing when I first saw this footage from the trailer. I was like, yeah, that's a reference to the Frank Miller comic. This part right here, you can blatantly tell that's a reference to that. That's all there is. POTUS. When the battle between Batman and Superman and Doomsday kicks off, the gathering of military figures, so that it's necessary to bring in POTUS, President of the United States. President can get just a single line out before the prospect of a nuclear strike is put forward, and he agrees. The voice is actually Patrick Wilson, the star of Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Okay, I'll say I don't really care that one. The Silver and Black, Slam, Tom to earn some merit badges. When the death of Superman at the hands of Kryptonian Doomsday carried out, he's buried in the state funeral procession with an empty casket of polished black used to signify his body, emblazoned with a silver S. It's a touch that every Superman fan would instantly catch, since the black suit, chrome chest, let it scroll down. It's obviously refreshing instead of fully reloading pages. Better for this. Since the black suit and chrome chest emulates the exact look taken by the Man of Steel when he first returns from his death, Kryptonian rehabilitation, coma sleep. In case fans had any fear that Snyder was departing from the comics, this choice returns us to familiar territory. Fair enough. Prisoner TK421. I was thinking I recognised that TK421. Director Zack Snyder and J.J. Abrams had a friendly competition with their respective when their blockbusters were in production, embodied in lightsabers, breasty stormtroopers, and even a miniature model of Batman's Tumbler and the Millennium Falcons. But Snyder saved his best Star Wars Easter egg for last, assuming Lex Luthor that prison number ended in TK421, the same call sign of the stormtrooper who had his uniform stolen by Luke and Han in the series' first movie. Yep. Darkseid is coming? ? Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne can both agree on the one thing by the end of the movie. Something big is coming. The point is driven home in the foreign shots when the painting in Lex's study has been inverted, as he promised in revealing a winged Satan descending from the skies. Again, he informed the Batman that while his plan failed, the battle has alerted others, and that battle can't be wrong. And he soon to be coming is never named, and he doesn't have to be for the audience. To get the idea. But with the Justice League coming soon and the numerous hints of apocalypse, come on, literally at the end now. Come on, I'll click refresh. Don't make me scroll down. Don't make me. Guess they made me. Numerous hints of apocalypse. It seems that Darkseid is a devilish figure being discussed. Conclusion. those are the Easter egg secrets and tiny touches we spot in Batman v Superman. But be sure to let us know which ones we've overlooked, and we'll keep updating the list as more and more secrets are uncovered. Let me try to fix any that I. Let me think. I'm just gonna have a quick run through if there's anything that I can think of. I'm pretty sure there is if I sat for a little longer, but I'm not just gonna sit here. We've already been recording this for quite a while. Last thing I'm gonna show you is this deleted scene that has been released for Batman v Superman. I will maximize this. Sorry about that. Okay, if we go back, it's interesting to see what these are. Could these be some sort of parademon? These are clearly mother boxes, and he seems like he's part of the mother boxes, or he could be part like that AI that we just read about. And Lex is obviously down there. You got the actual red dots on him. You got a red dot there. I wonder what the soldiers are thinking seeing this. Surprised they haven't shot yet. It's usually the typical human thing: shoot, 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 shoot. Okay, so that is fine. Yep. I'm coming up to 1 hour. Yeah, I'll be ending it now. There's not much more to say apart from thank you for watching. If you got your own thoughts on Batman v Superman, feel free to leave them in the comments. Okay, I never thought I would ever do that in the comments like that, because the comments could be anywhere. But yeah, feel free to leave them in the comments. Feel free to message us if you've got any questions about Batman v Superman and you want to ask me. Yeah, feel free to ask, and have a good evening, have a good morning, have a good wherever you are. Goodbye.